continuing where I left off, being this oddball, going through school in the neighborhood, I ended up graduating from high school in 1999, and unfortunately my mom did miss my high school graduation. But it was okay. I wasn't as upset or hurt about it because I did have my dad, some close friends and family members who did attend, so, it wasn't all bad. But fast forward to about mid-2000, like September, my mom calls. So she's found another place. We start talking again. And what makes this significant is I just broken up with Eve not too long ago. So me and my mom are talking. I'm telling her about that situation with the relationship. And it was my mom who was the one that suggested the list. And I thought that was interesting because, it was pretty good advice. Then December rolls around again. Only this time I got a phone call and she asked to speak to my father. After that conversation they had, my father came to my room and told me, if your mom calls or talking about let her in the house, is she trying to come over, don't let her in. Thinking to myself, why? That's kind of weird. It's my mom. But going into January of 2001, she ended up telling me that, she called my father asking him where she could find a gun because she said she wanted to take her own life. So as the years went on, like I told you, things just seemed to get worse. But I ended up hearing from my grandmother, my mother's mother, and she finally broke down and told me everything that was going on. And I finally got a better understanding of why sometimes, at least during the winter months, my mom really wasn't around that much. But all the other times before then, it's just so many things that she was battling and that she was dealing with it. I had a better understanding after that conversation. But once again, my mom disappeared. Basically, I didn't hear from her from 2001 up until 2004. And between that time, one of the hardest times that kind of got me, but kind of just set reality and informed me that this is just the way it is. I was working at Safeway, and an older gentleman I was working with, a retired man, he asked me what I was going to buy my mother for Mother's Day. And I told him that I wasn't going to buy anything. But I said it wasn't because I don't love her or I don't care about her. I told her it's just I don't know where she is. So even if I wanted to get her a Mother's Day gift, I couldn't because I had no idea where she was. And I'm not one of these people who will say that, I had a parent, and in this case my dad, who played both roles. So I'm not going to buy him a Mother's Day gift. And besides, my dad's the type that he would have rejected that anyway because he's like, I'm your father. To me, my father was like Superman. So usually when I hear about single parents who handle their business, I just think of them as a super mom or a super dad, because to be able to do that with kids and to raise a family, that takes a lot of strength because, and I know I'm deviating from this story, but I'm not one that believes that one parent can play the role of both. That if one parent or the other is absent, the child or children will feel the effects of that one way or another. And that's kind of how you see individuals will go out somewhere else externally, away from that single parent, to try to find someone to fill that void. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't exempt from that. But to continue on with the story, I don't hear from her, and I don't hear from my mom again until 2004, because that's when my grandmother, my mother's mother, passed away. But fortunately, going to the funeral, and my wife came with me, this was the first time in a long time that I got to see my older sister again, because I haven't seen her in years because we didn't grow up together. So I was able to rekindle and build on a relationship with her, but also got to see my mother again, and my mother got to meet my wife for the first time. So that was about in the summer of 2004. Fast forward to November of 2004, the day after Thanksgiving. Me and my sister agreed to get together, and when we get together, we go visit our mom, because at this time in 2004, my mom was staying in a halfway house. So we went to go visit her, and I made it my business that while we were sitting there, and I looked my mom dead in the eyes, and I told her, I said, I know you haven't always been there, and people have said things, you haven't been a good mother, this, that, and the other, and I know that we've had our differences in our relationships, but I forgive you. And I did. Right then and there, I forgave my mother for everything that happened, and all the hurt and everything, that I dealt with. I forgave her right then and there, because not only just because of being in the faith and who I believe in and what I believe in, but I didn't want to be a spiteful person. I didn't want to be a hurtful person. I didn't want to be a bitter person. And I noticed that those were characteristics that I was projecting to other people, which I'll explain later. But I didn't want to hold on to those things. I wanted to be able to move on, to let her know that despite all these things, I still love you, and you're still my mother, because I only have one. And she accepted it, and it was kind of like we didn't talk about it anymore after that. It was just kind of like I said it, It was understood, and we moved on. So in 2005, my mom was going into surgery to have kidney stones removed. And, she spoke to my wife and just told her, that she would give me a call after the surgery was over and everything like that. And then, talk to her later. Well, February 13th, 2005, I got that phone call from my sister. And as soon as I saw the phone number, deep down, I knew what it was. And of course, she told me that, our mom had passed away. And what was ironic about that, and I didn't mention this before, but back in 1994, one night when my mom was over our house, she said to me, looked me dead in my face and said, when me and your father pass away, you're going to cry more for your father than you will for me because I wasn't always around. And she was right. When I heard the news that she passed away, I didn't cry. I felt bad, but I didn't cry. At her funeral, when they closed the casket and I had to stand up and speak in front of everybody, I did start crying then. But since then, just thinking about it, I haven't. And it's not to say that to sound mean, but that day after Thanksgiving and telling my mom I forgave her, that was closure. But I'm thankful that I got the opportunity to do so, because I can only imagine the type of person I would be today had I not had that opportunity and have not taken that opportunity to tell her that I forgive her. All these dudes that you see on YouTube who are black males, bashing black women, had I not done that, not only would I have been one of those guys, but I'd probably be leading in the forefront because of it. Because not only are you talking about having a negative experience with, one black woman who I call Black Mamba, but then the woman who also gave birth to me, who we didn't have the best relationship. It wasn't completely terrible and it didn't end on a bad note. But what would have happened had I not taken that route, had I not forgiven her, had I not let go of all of those things? I'd be in a much worse position than I am right now. However, I know some of you may be wondering, but then why do I call this video that I have mama issues and not that I had mama issues? And that's because in this year, 2016, something happened that just brought that back up. And that was, it was 4 guys. Now, one, I don't know that closely. And then the other 3 guys, I'm close to them, I know them, or I work with them. They were all either cheated on, their wives left them, or they were just, treated like dirt in their marriages. And I made the mistake of taking all of those stories personally, because that's something that happened to my father as well. Now, none of these men are perfect. My father wasn't perfect in this situation. I'm not saying that how him and my mom split, that it was all my mother's fault and the depression she was going through. No. But Dad's not a saint either. But at the same time, he was a guy that he wasn't messing around. You go to work, you do what you have to do, you take care of your family. And when you have somebody that feels like they don't appreciate you, it makes you act out a certain way. So hearing that and hearing all these things, I made the mistake of starting to look at my wife like, could she possibly do the same thing to me? Because I don't go around telling people, oh, I'm a great man and this, that, and the other. But, I work and I do what I have to do to take care of my family. But I'm more involved where I'm more than just a provider, because that's what my dad was. My dad was more than just a provider. The only thing I would give him a low scoring grade in is being a nurturer. He tried, but my dad is not the nurturing type. It's awkward when me and my dad say goodbye to each other. We do handshakes instead of hugs and stuff like that, because, that's just not what we did. That's just not what he did. But outside of that, just thinking of how these guys were done dirty, I was starting to think, does my wife appreciate me? But I will say this, because I can go on a long history, and it was a stupid thought. As soon as the thought came, it went. But a few things happened to basically, I had to remember my situation and my relationship is not my parents. Me and my wife are not her parents, and we're not my parents. One of the things I tell people is the most important thing to have in a relationship, four things to have a healthy relationship that you at least have to have, is commitment, friendship, communication, and trust. And one of the main things I'm thankful that I have in my relationship is all 4 of those things, but that communication aspect. And it was very important in this aspect, where she's the type of person that when she's not happy about a situation, she is quick to voice it, and voice it in a way that I can receive it. And it reminded me that no matter what I'm going through, no matter what I'm dealing with, even with these old issues, that even though I'm healed from them, the effects of them don't always go away. Or it may take something drastic to make whatever it is that you dealt with then resurface. But because I know that I can tell her anything, we talked it out, as vulnerable as I've ever been. This is the first woman, because of the relationship I had with my mom. My wife is the first woman that I've been 100% vulnerable to. Any other woman I've dated, I've been honest to a point, but I always made sure that I was in control of the relationship. I always made sure that I had the upper hand. I always made sure that I was in a situation where no matter what happened in the relationship, she would get hurt more than I would. Not in a sense where people say, oh, well, you made sure they loved you more than you loved them, because I don't believe in that. But I just made sure that I always kept myself guarded. I would let you see enough, but I would never give 100%, like, you have all of me and I'm completely committed to this to the end. Not until I met Brittany, and not until we just solidified our relationship in that aspect that, like I said, that's why she had the ability to get under my skin. That basically she is the only woman in my life that she can destroy me emotionally, that I will be done. I will be one of these guys that then I'm bashing, I'm saying all these negative things from hurt. But I don't treat her in such a way like to pay for what happened with my mom. The relationship me and my wife have is the relationship that me and my wife have, because I'm not a bitter person. I don't believe in punishing other people for the mistakes of what someone else did to you in your past. That's not fair to other people. So yeah, I mean, there's so much more I can say about this, and I know this is already a long video, but I had to put this out there because instead of being one of these people that's like, oh, I'm gonna change and be a new me in 2017. No, I have to deal with this now. I'm a person that wants a situation to arise that I can do something about it. Instead of procrastinating, I do something about it. And I hope to encourage other people the same. Whoever's watching this video, I don't know what your home life was like growing up, whether you had both parents and you learned to appreciate them, you grew up in a single parent household, or you may have had neither one of your parents, was in your life, and you either grew up in the system or raised by grandma or another family member. Whatever your story is, whatever your case may be, I hope that you find an opportunity to find forgiveness, to find healing, and to not be in a situation where you either cause the same hurt or pain to someone else, or you don't hold on to that hurt or pain, and it shows in your relationships. Because one thing I heard, I'm gonna stop here after I say this. I was watching this video by a gentleman named Andy Stanley or something like that, and it was silly. He used these illustration of two cups, like a blue one and a pink one, and it was saying that if you stop doing this or if you stop doing that, I will stop acting a certain way. The way that I was acting and what came out wasn't because my wife did something or somebody else did something to make me act that way. It was already in me. It just took something to that extent to make it finally come out of me and to act on it. But fortunately, because I was aware of the situation, I was able to handle it before I ended up doing something that could have been catastrophic, not only to my marriage, but even to others who are around me. Because I learned from other people's situation in 2016 that when you do certain things, it doesn't just affect you, but it affects those you love and affects those around you as well. So that's it. There's so much more little details and things here and there, but this is my story. This is my confession. I don't want people to think that because you see me and my family and how we both came from these fantastic home life and backgrounds, and we're just continuing on this tradition. No, I came from a broken home, and I was a broken man. I was a man who has mama issues, but I dealt with them. I know what they are, and I'm thankful for the lessons that I did get from my mom while she was around, while she was on earth. And it seemed like she always came back in the right time of my life and then went away in times where it probably wouldn't have been beneficial if she was around. I never know, but this is how it played out. So that's it. Going into 2017, I'm getting back to having that more positive videos, not holding on to or moping around, because that's kind of like why other than my storytime videos, my videos have been kind of like, and I haven't been putting as much time and effort into it, and my work schedule changed a little bit, but that's why. But now that I got this out, now that I got this off my chest, and I've been wanting to share this even since last year, so I'm glad something happened to kind of force my hand to put this out here. I can focus truly on what I want to do in 2017 for this channel, and also be able to support others as well through this social medium to help promote and help them grow as well. So that's it for now, because now I'm just rambling. So as always, be wise, and until I see you guys next time, have a great day.